Howdy there, folks. Glenn with the Cactus Atlas, hanging out in the only sliver of shade in Joshua Tree National Park currently. And I'm going to take you on a quick exploration of some of my favorite spots while I simultaneously give you a channel update. An important one with a programming announcement and a big announcement. I'm camping here. This is going to be my third night camping here, by the way, in this hot June, past mid-June, approaching July, Joshua Tree National Park, where it's currently about 2 in the afternoon and maybe about 95 degrees in this current location, but in regions very near to here, it's already like around 107, 108. If you know this area and you know 29 Palms in that area, you know how quickly when you climb elevation it cools off. But 94, 95 at 1:30 in the afternoon is not cool by any standards, and Slim would agree. Poor guy's been taking me out to some really adventurous places, but in this extreme heat. And he's done such a good job. So let's give him a round of applause. Slim, we commend you.
Aw, shucks.
So the site that I chose to camp in is site 118. And it's a cozy little site, nestled up nice against a lot of these Monzo granite boulders, weathered and beautiful here that Joshua Tree National Park is known for. All in all, I would give this campground very high marks for many different reasons, but I will also caution you of one thing to be aware of when you're booking a site here. So this here is site 118, right? My site. And then let's just walk right here. This will explain it all perfectly. Like right here on the other side of the rocks is, I forget what number this is on my loop, but probably 120 something, I don't know. But basically it's like I'm right here and there's people like right here, albeit you almost would never know it if you're hanging out over here, because this campground is genius when it comes to blocking sight lines and creating the semblance of privacy. But if you understand what they've done with the place and how they built a whole campground inside of this maze of rocks, you'll start to overlook a few inconvenient things like that. So not every single site here is really close to the next. You have some like 117 here. That's a cool one. It's kind of on a corner right on the main drag, but like the camping area is obscured by these bushes, and that's one tactic they do a lot in this campground, where they use these hedges and bushes to partition off campsites to make it more private, because if they didn't, I mean, you'd be right out in the open with everybody driving by you every 5 minutes when it's busy. Luckily now it's not. One of my favorite things to do, I see the group of common ravens up on that rock. There's a group of them, and it's interesting to watch their patterns and how they communicate and the shenanigans they do. Seen some animal shenanigans while I'm here with squirrels and those things. So these are good examples of some walk-ins that are way too close for my taste. 116, 115, 114. I guess I'm going backwards and counting not in sequence, but this one's not bad. The one off to the side at 115, and there's something way in the back there, so not all are bad, but over here, you know, a little bit too. They should remove 1 or 2 of those, I think. I think there's 124 sites actually here, so it's a sizable campground, and they're all open right now, where a lot of the other big campgrounds like Indian Cove are half open, where they shut off half of the campground. So this is one of the few ones right now that are open, and this one's very central in the park, so probably makes sense where some of the other ones are out, like out by Route 62. The other amenity you have here are restrooms. So here's an example of one that's spread out, many of them, and I find they're all clean and not too bad on the odor scale. And other than that, I think really to get into the meat of my updates, I'm gonna depart the campground here shortly, and I'm gonna drive you to a couple spots here in the park that are kind of special and neat, and we'll add a little bit more info as we go along, and we'll start with that programming update first on the drive up to the next place. All right, let's depart Jumbo Rock Campground. I'll drive out of here so you can see a few other sites. And like I said, I will tell you where you can go in the future to get information about this campground, hint hint, but saving that for a little bit later. But yeah, this is the exit of Jumbo Rocks. Chances are, if you've been to Joshua Tree, you've been around here. Skull Rock is right down the road. There's even a nature trail that I think connects the campground to Skull Rock. I don't think I have time to go do that, but if I do, I might. We might do that, because I like Skull Rock, but it's really, really uber touristy. Maybe the most touristy thing there is, because it's right off the main road, and everybody stops there. As for us now, we're gonna drive here through the park. I'm first gonna go way up to higher elevation to a place called Keys View. I discovered that yesterday. Kind of had a false start for making this video, but went up there and I got too pooped and I just abandoned it, said I'll do it today. But it's remarkable up there. I hadn't been to Keys Point on my very first trip here to Joshua Tree a couple years ago, but it really, I'm wondering if it's clearer today than it was yesterday, is my hope, because it was kind of hazy. I think a lot because of wildfires north of here in the Hesperia, California area. So the programming update is that we're no longer going to release on Mondays. So we can use our time building and working towards some other stuff. And Thursdays will remain the same. The Cactus Atlas throughout the years has been a once a week production for many, many years, and we only started releasing twice a week several months ago. And although that's really helped grow the channel substantially, I guess, brute force releasing more videos, the winds of change are blowing, and I really want to spend and need to spend my time focusing on other things and sitting in the editor's seat more time than I'm filming and all of that. It's just not, I think, the best use of my time for multiple reasons, and that's really going to get to the heart of the matter here shortly. Because I need to segue back into developer life, and the most likely course of action is to get a job working for a company. That's upcoming, and I want to segue back into it. So to do that, I love to build software and I love to build stuff to keep up my chops, because even though a lot of guys my age start to fizzle out and start to move into more like management roles at my age, I'm like Doc Holliday, man. I'm in my prime, and I feel like I get better at it all the time because I'm passionate about it and I do it for pure enjoyment and entertainment. When it's on my terms, building what I want to build. Much different story though when you have to work in a company and there are all the politicking compromises and the things that fatigue and take away from the magic. Yeah, that's where the heel dragging really comes into play. Is like I really need to find the right thing in my life, the right fit for me, and that's a different thing. But basically, over the next few months, in addition to filming Cactus Atlas episodes and traveling extensively around the whole West and camping for weeks at a time, I'm going to be working on a new side endeavor, and therein lies the big announcement for this episode. So to segue back into developer life, and I would say in a weird way, maybe the introverted way of networking by putting out to the world and using digital media to basically express, hey man, this is how I work. This is the technology I like. This is how I use it. Where are my people at? As I prepare for a job, I like to code and keep my skills fresh and build things. It's good. It's also good to show that when you're doing YouTubing and then people are like, what have you been doing for the last few months? Well, this, and I built this app and blah, blah, blah. So that has always helped me. And that's why I want to do it. Big reasons why I want to do it. Now, the cool part about all of that is I am going to build something, an app I'm hoping over the next 2 to 3 months is my time frame for my first release. But I'm building an app to solve some problems that I experience, especially on the Cactus Atlas, shopping around for campgrounds and picking out good campsites. An age-old problem for some of us, and there are current solutions for that. But that's something that I have something I'm going to just play for you that will explain it better, I guess, than what I'm saying. So the app I'm building is to service campers in the camping industry. I guess we're about to spill the beans because I'm going to play you a trailer, and the trailer is the channel trailer for our new business, my new side business that I'm creating called Camp View. One word, CAMPVUE, Camp View. A lot of that choice had to do with what domains were available, and I wanted something short with a .com domain and found that, and I thought that was suitable and actually makes sense when you understand the point of what I'm doing, actually. So but anyway, Camp View. So let me pause here because this is the part where I'm going to ask you, go check out Camp View. We already have content up there. It's probably not going to be, it'll be something you're familiar with the Cactus Atlas, but content that we're moving over there, basically having to do with camping. Yes. So if you want, go check that out, subscribe and watch our videos there, and I'm going to give you incentive to go over there and watch when I reveal the big part of my master plan, maybe when we get to the viewpoint, because there's going to be a sweetener for you to go over there and check it out and subscribe, because I'm doing some stuff that I know this crowd over here likes, at least on a temporary basis. So why don't we do this? I'm going to play you the channel trailer really quick, and this explains the problem I'm trying to solve, or not to solve, but to contribute to, mainly because this isn't a novel idea. I'm not inventing anything. I'm going to be building an innovation on top of something, but just watch the trailer, and this is what Camp View is essentially all about.
Ever go to reserve a campsite for a special camping adventure, where the campsite photo you saw on the reservation website made the site look okay enough, but when you arrive, you have that whump moment when you realize the site you picked is in the section where they pack them in like sardines? Just hope your neighbors aren't the loud partying all-nighter types. Well, here at Camp View, we understand that frustration, and like you, we prefer to plan a camping trip like a pro. Here at Camp View, our goal is simple: to provide you with visualizations of campsites by way of video, with the hope that our unique perspective assists you with picking that perfect site for your upcoming trip. Now, the next time you book a site, you'll at least know what you're getting into before you arrive. Camp View, find your perfect site.
Alrighty, Keys View. It was a lot less crowded yesterday, actually. It's pretty dang crowded, but maybe everybody's going to leave at the same time. That'd be nice. I'll give you kind of a reveal here. Keys View. Better views at the top of the hill, though. That across the way is San Jacinto Mountain. I assume it's pronounced that way and not Jacinto, but it's pretty hazy. I don't know if there's a proper direction to doing this. I went the other way yesterday, but it's so crowded over there. Gonna wait for it to air out a little bit. And it's quiet over here. Camp View, man. Don't go to campview.com yet. You can. It's probably just a splash page for my internet host, but you're gonna actually see me build it on Camp View, the channel, over the course of summer through developer diaries is what I'm gonna call them. And that's the exciting part, I think, of what I wanted to share with you guys. Man, it's a very majestic view. Kind of gives me the vibes of like Dead Horse Point in Utah. Not quite as cool as that, but the drop-offs, the expansive views. it's on Campview that I'm going to talk about how I plan and what I plan on doing and the architecture of it all. It'll get a little technical over there because I am catering to different audiences, but I am going to try to keep it user-friendly and not too technical, and the technical stuff will probably be not the majority of it, just here and there if I have to talk about how I did something or whatever. But I'll keep it interesting for all types of skill levels and whether you've developed or not. The way I'm going to go about doing this is what I'm excited about the most. And there's a lot of details to my plan, my business plan for this, and what I'm expecting to get out of it. But for now, I think the most important thing on this update is to let you know, to bring awareness to you, is that well, Amy and I, even though I'm kind of primarily the one working on Campview, or Slim and I are working on Campview, we have a new channel, Campview, C-A-M-P-V-U-E, link in the description. If you go over there and subscribe, these developer diaries are going to be days of travel. I'll be kind of on the job working. Tomorrow, for example, I drive from Joshua Tree here up to past Kernville, up into the Sierra Nevada, and I'm camping up there. So that whole day, I'm going to be vlogging, doing my developer diary. So it'll probably feel like one of our travel vlogs to you who have watched our show for a long time, and I know a lot of you like that. So it'll probably feel very Cactus Atlas-y, although I'm going to edit them, and there may not be any music. It just may be pretty cut and dry. Alrighty, back to the car now, where we're going to continue, and I'm going to take you to one other spot at least, where I'm going to finish up our discussion, because I want to tell you a little bit about the plan to entice you to want to watch it, and what I'm essentially doing for that channel for phase 1. Anyway, let's head to my next spot, and the main thing I want to talk about now is the execution of the operational side of building Campview and getting the content to fuel Campview, because the video content is a big part of it. It's important. It's the whole point, even though it's not the main way I plan on making revenue with it. So this trip to Joshua Tree is the first of many, I would say several really long multi-week road trips where I'm camping sometimes for 2 weeks at a time or more, living in a tent. And I'm traveling huge sections of the West, trying to hit some major national parks to build content for Campview. Because I believe the success of Campview is going to be dependent on the numbers, not just making a couple cool videos, but having enough content. The quantity is as important as the quality with it. So I'm going to be driving around all summer like a madman, trying to document hundreds of campgrounds, doing campground drive-throughs, exactly what you've seen me release a couple ones on the Cactus Atlas, where I just drove through campgrounds, no talking, and I have cameras mounted on the roof and I'm showing the sights from my vehicle. I find that to be an effective way to judge many campsites, more effective than a still photo. So to start off, that's my little gimmick for Campview. We're making tons of those videos to assist people with picking out a site so they don't end up with some crappy campsite. And there's much more to the plan. But in order to get all that content in hundreds of campgrounds, I'm traveling all over the country, camping all the way, and then some days doing maybe like 10, 11 campground drive-throughs. So over the last 3 days, for example, here in Joshua Tree, I forget how many of the campgrounds I was able to visit. A couple of them are closed because it's the warmer months, and a couple of them are half open. And I documented what I could. If the sections were closed off, I still went. So I think there's like 6 or 7 campgrounds or something like that I touched and got to from just Joshua Tree, just to put it in perspective. And then tomorrow I'm driving up to the Sierra Nevada, where I start around Kernville and make my north all the way to Yosemite, traveling through many national forests along the way and camping and documenting all of the campgrounds that I can with the time that I have, which is most of them actually. And there'll be national parks along the way also, some major ones, some of the most major ones. And that is why I'm traveling. But on top of it, now I'm going to be able to along the way make Cactus Atlas videos in all these locations while I'm doing that. So I'm kind of taking care of two problems at once, stocking up for the Cactus Atlas future, making some epic trips in epic locations, and then stocking up on my content for Camp View Phase 1, Release 1, which I'm hoping is over the next 2 to 3 months. So the Camp View Developer Diaries will just be that. It'll be me showing life on the road as a developer. I bought Starlink, for example. I've got a new power block, so I'm equipped to have a roaming office. I can work anywhere now that I don't have an obstruction to the sky. It's amazing. So I'm actually going to be coding, building the app while I'm camping, and I wanted to test the feasibility of that maybe for the future when I go back to work. I mean, a lot of places don't like the remote work, but under the right circumstances, I prefer to be a remote worker. And if I can develop in the middle of the woods and do my job effectively, and do it as well as I've always done it, then maybe that'll be a good way to do more Cactus Atlas in the future, especially if I don't have a lot of vacation time where I work all day and then in the afternoons, you know, work on Cactus Atlas, Camp View, whatever. So really just getting a feel and camping for weeks at a time and living in a tent and doing this. I bet it's gonna get old pretty quick. But so far I'm loving it. And I thought, what a better way to build an app than living in it, living in the subject matter. But anyway, so that's an exciting thing. And yeah, these developer diaries are really just me documenting at various junctures entire day's worth. Maybe it's some of the mundane camp life, the stuff some of you ask for, like, you know, how was my day, where do I shower, all of that stuff. But the thing I want to let you know is I don't plan on doing that permanently on that channel, nor do I plan on having a regular release schedule. I'm gonna basically on that channel release the Campground drive-throughs as soon as I can get them done. If I make 3 in a day, I might ship them all out because I need to build that content up. So just know if you go there and turn on notifications, bear with me because you may get a lot from there. Although I don't imagine releasing more than like 2 in a day or something probably. They take a little bit of time to make, but you'll get to see me doing all of that while camping on the road, like technology meets the wilderness. So I think it'll be an interesting thing to watch. I'd watch it. I'd like to see how somebody would do that and kind of put themselves out there building something in front of the world to see. We'll tidy up this conversation before we're done, but here comes probably my favorite spot because of the mystique behind this area called Cap Rock. If you've been watching our channel long enough, you might already know what this is. If you listen to Gram Parsons, if you know who Gram Parsons is, one of my heroes, I love him, my favorite, one of my top 3 favorite musicians, then you certainly know what Cap Rock is all about. And even if you don't like Gram Parsons, being that our demographic on this channel are, you know, older demographic, a lot of you I'm sure know who Gram Parsons is. A lot of you probably didn't like him. He was a dirty hippie to some of you, but he did country music as good as any of them, I thought. Although he didn't call it that, he called it cosmic American music. So this here is known as Cap Rock. You may have guessed because it's got a rock on the top that resembles a cap. And a really cool place. I would also say a pretty good spot for night, like sky viewing. I've been here before, near a park where there's really no campground right next door, and although the road is out there and the headlights can screw things up once in a while. So, Gram Parsons, So, I did a video about Gram Parsons and we talked a little bit about him. I actually stayed in the room where Gram Parsons unfortunately died of a drug overdose in the early 1970s. It used to be called the Joshua Tree Inn, I believe. I drove down there today and drove by it. It's now called the Harmony Inn. There's little music notes on the sign. Makes sense because, you know, the music of Gram Parsons, the Flying Burrito Brothers, the Byrds, their Sweetheart of the Rodeo days, you know, those harmonies. So I think that's a good choice. Now over here at Cap Rock, this is the site of something related to Gram Parsons that is quite an extraordinary story, and many of you probably know it. So Gram Parsons, I would say, even with, you know, my contemporaries, Generation X, a lot of them never heard of him when I talk about it. But the ones that do are very passionate about that music. And so I don't want to say there's a cult following around Gram Parsons, but there kind of is. And over here, there used to be a lot of graffiti with like song lyrics, you know, and other things to Gram Parsons, because after he died, something happened here that you probably have heard about, but we're gonna go around the back and we'll talk about that. So some of you may have seen a movie called Gram Parsons, starring Johnny Knoxville as Gram Parsons' tour manager. And you know, watch the old video we did, because I'm not gonna rehash all of it, but basically, I don't know how close Gram Parsons was with his tour manager, but at some point, maybe they were drinking heavily, partying heavily. Gram expressed wanting, when he died, to be brought out here to Joshua Tree. I don't know if his specific request was to be cremated out here. It probably was. And yeah, his buddy did his best to make it happen in the early 1970s, and did something highly illegal and highly controversial. Somewhere in this very near vicinity of Cap Rock, after Gram Parsons died, his tour manager, you know, basically, I forget who he was with, brought Gram's body out here. They were able to steal the body, bring it out here, and I think they doused it with gasoline to basically honor Gram's wish. So that sounds like a noble thing to some, I'm sure. Not so nice for his family. His father had to come out here and deal with that. And it was kind of a botched attempt anyway. There are people visiting the spot that I'll tell you the rest of the story at over here. But I'm walking out here because I noticed something out here a little ways that couldn't really tell what it was. It just might be organic debris. But looking for signs of something. Actually, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I did not. This is not the spot exactly. We'll walk over there. But I'm out here in the desert because my understanding is somewhere in the vicinity of here is where the deed happened, where the body was brought out after dark. I imagine dirt roads back then. A lot less people, I would imagine, at night. And yes, I lit a fire and they got busted. So the fire was spotted, I assume, by the Park Service, and they were arrested. And the worst part really is that they didn't really finish the job. But there's a channel that Amy and I love, one of our favorites, called Ask a Mortician, and she's pretty scientific about stuff with death, and she tells the whole story, so she does a much better job than I just did. So recommend, if you want to hear the story in good detail, watch her video. Amy will put a link in the description below, but she does get into like very much detail about likely what the result was of the attempt, meaning they didn't cremate the guy. They probably just, I don't want to, if you're woozy, I don't want to like give you bad stuff, but basically a botched cremation attempt, partial, we'll say very partial. Go watch her video and thank me later if you like it. Now, Gram Parsons was, my understanding was he was enraptured with Joshua Tree National Park. And he liked to come out here and vacation here. And he stayed at a nearby inn called the Joshua Tree Inn, where he died. And that's the place where I booked the room he died in and spent the night in there. Watch our old video on that to see it. But basically, he was in love with this place. It meant it was something special to him. And as it is for me, I get it. It's just the scenery, it's the rocks, it's the vibe you get, the heat coming off the rocks, the warmth. It's a special place. So what I'm gonna go see next is there's a big flat rock where people would put their graffiti and stuff. We'll see what the state is here in 2024, if it's been cleaned up or not. But if any of you are watching, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what side of Cap Rock I'm on, and I'm looking this direction, can anybody at least confirm that I'm gonna scan the landscape, that in the field of my view, you could see, or the spot is somewhere in this field of view. That'll help me pinpoint it I don't have connectivity up here in Joshua Tree, so I haven't researched it, but I think I'm gonna do a future video, a better job than I did on the first one on a future trip. Okay, so the people are talking about that. So he's saying, oh, it's the place where Gram Parsons' body was burnt, so, but that's not true from what I've been told. So you can kind of see too, like I'm going out towards the road, and I don't know if this was an old road maybe this is near where it was, but basically it kind of goes straight up to it. But that's probably because a lot of Gram Parsons fans park over there and walk straight to it as a shortcut, so they don't have to walk all the way around. So this is the spot that many attribute to being the location of where the deed happened. So let me know the facts. But what I can tell you is like this rock here, and maybe some of the ones over there, used to be covered in graffiti. And these look like they've been cleaned up also. Wow, yeah, they really cleaned this up. There was a lot of graffiti on here before, and it's all gone. The only reminder now is this pile of rocks, GP for Gram Parsons, and then someone, I guess, left their drugs here, their pipe. But this is the spot that people come to pay their respects, and I guess with the disappearance of the graffiti, people, you know, that generation is starting to fade out. So how much longer will Gram Parsons' memory persist here in Joshua Tree? Every time I come here to Joshua Tree, that's kind of my soundtrack. I have a Joshua Tree soundtrack, and it's a lot of it's all that. Got some Rolling Stones on there because Gram Parsons was apparently good friends with Keith Richards, and I've heard rumors that those two came out here to drive around at night, probably wasted out of their minds knowing them, trying to find UFOs. I don't think that's a substantiated thing. I've just heard that. But kind of cool to think about that. All right, that was kind of a diversion. I wanted to give you something else other than just campground, camp view updates and stuff. But yeah, Camp View, it's happening. It's actually well underway. The app is actually, I've been working on it for a few weeks. So by the time I do my developer diary and start doing demos, which you'll see demos on the channel, one reason to tune in, you'll see that it's already coming along quite nicely, and I'm confident I can get things done on a very quick time frame. I have returned home for the night, and I think I've done well here for our quick little tour of Joshua Tree. You got to see the campground and a couple really cool things, and I dropped the news. Camp View, baby, Camp View. And this tent I bought from REI is gonna be my home. So far it's a fantastic tent, and I hope it can put up with a whole summer's worth of camping. Well friends, sorry to spring kind of a different episode on you with random updates. I shouldn't say random, very intentional updates. But I did try to mix in some of our usual journeys and show you some things that I like here at Joshua Tree. So hopefully you were okay with this video. We'll be back next Thursday with the usual business, and now you'll probably expect some more stuff from this area as well as many more beyond. So thanks again, and we'll see you next week.